All right. Well, welcome everybody, and it's time to tap into your personal power and pull up a cup for this episode of the InPower Coffee Break. And I'm Dana Theus here with Mary Brody of InPower Coaching, and today our guest is Carri Craver, who has a very diverse career, very fluid career. We're going to explore the reality of the fluid career today with Carri. And I want to remind everybody we hold these live sessions on Facebook, and you can join live on our website. We give you all the login information there every Tuesday from noon to 12:30, and we invite you to join us live. Our lists of how to sign up and also all the upcoming topics we have is at coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com. And so I encourage you to go there and check it out. And now let's get into it. Mary, you want to introduce us to Carri?
Yes, and Carri is a friend of mine. So welcome, Carri. So glad that you can make it today.
Delighted to be here.
Carri is an entrepreneur, user experience strategist, and has been working in some capacity as a product enthusiast for almost 2 decades. Her current role is as product manager for Asset Panda, a growing startup in Frisco, Texas. Without knowing it, her training began as a young child when her artist mother quizzed her over and over with flashcards about famous paintings. And her engineer father brought her dozens of Dell Logic books that created a fascination with persevering over complicated puzzles. She sees the beauty and the puzzle in the work of product design. The road has been bumpy as rewarding. Twice she has failed to see her own product vision turn into a profitable business, once trying to go it alone, once with her father as a business partner, but her enthusiasm for working on products that solve problems is too ingrained to be dampered. Giving back to the community that has given her a career she loves is as important as well. At one point, she taught a series of UX classes at a local co-working space, or co-working spaces, and currently she is a local organizer for the CoFounders Lab's meeting. While no one knows exactly where the future of product design will go, she is ready to continue to learn and build new skills to be part of that future. So welcome, Carri. So glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm delighted.
You know, I've been looking forward to this conversation because I love the word product design, and I'll tell you why. And then I'm going to ask you more about, like, well, what is it? Because when I started my marketing career eons ago, I moved myself into product marketing and then product management and worked on product development, and there was no such thing as product design.
Right.
And that was kind of before the internet. I'm dating myself. Although we were developing online products, I was still just, I would say that our processes and our approach and our way of thinking about it were very much about physical, they were born out of the physical product development ideas and concepts, And so I have just loved, even though I'm not in marketing or product development anymore, I've just loved watching product become a thing. So talk to us about where you are now in product design and what it is, and then we'll go back, later we'll go back into how you got here, but what is it exactly?
Sure. Well, gosh, that's a broad question. So a big part of my day-to-day for the last couple of years is really looking at specific aspects of a product and solving problems in a really small way that hopefully scale up to be a bigger product. So for instance, my biggest client over the last couple of years was an e-commerce platform, and specifically for B2B clients. And they wanted to have something so that the companies could have on day one a responsive web app and native mobile apps, and so broad. You can't start to think about how do I create this whole product, because that's just too overwhelming. So really my day-to-day was focused on, either the invoicing and how that's going to work for the accountant to be able to see it and for the guy out in the field to be able to order something, and how all those processes are going to work in little micro moments. And, I just get through as many things as I can in a day, and then ultimately you kind of end up with systems and components and templates and themes and all those kind of things build from working on small moments. And really that's the part of what draws me to this, because it's those small moments that are about what is some person in a real world experience doing, and how do they want it to work? What do they care about? What are they thinking? What are the stresses in their job that they're dealing with? And so you get to not only deal with a lot of UI and design elements and all that kind of stuff, but you get to deal with people and what are their experiences and how can I figure out a way to help them. And so I see those as like the big puzzles, and then it kind of just scales up to be this huge thing that you've created over time.
So how does product design relate to customer experience?
I mean, I think that they're intrinsically linked. That link can't be broken. The quality of the design impacts the day-to-day aspect of their experience, from everything from just simple efficiency. If you've got a product out there and you're fortunate enough to have thousands of people using it, and you design something that takes 10 seconds longer than it could, that people do 4 or 5 times a day, you've wasted people's time. And while on any given instance it may not be a dramatic issue, over time, like, you're just not respecting people as much as you could. And then simple things like, one of the things that I am really interested in right now is there's a big trend where people are writing things like, if you don't want to see any more of the wonderful work we're doing, click here to unsubscribe. Like this kind of language that's insulting in weird ways, to try and get people to do what they want them to do. And I understand it may be effective and things like that, but I think that sets a customer experience that, you wouldn't say that to a friend. Hey, if you no longer want to see the great things I'm doing, hit the door. You say bye. I hope to see you again soon. So I feel like it's throughout products. It's the language. It's the order. It's the the efficiency. It's a lot of different things. And I don't think they're able to be disconnected from each other.
So let's go back to how you got here, because I'm finding the more people I talk to, and I'm guessing this is true for you, but I don't know. When you first started your career, did the job you have now even exist?
No. Yeah, no, there weren't, a huge part of what I do is responsive design and things like that. And there weren't mobile apps when I started my career. So in a lot of ways, no, there weren't touch screens. There were most of what I do. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's true for a lot of us. Not everybody, but a lot of us, whatever we're doing today, like it wasn't there when we started. And so that, of course, means that whatever we're doing today may not be there, or I'm sorry, whatever we're going to be doing in 10 or 15 years may not be there today. And that we literally have to grow into it. We have to evolve into it.
Which is so exciting.
Everybody else.
Yeah. No. I'm excited for that stuff. I really am. And I guess it's one of the challenges of this kind of a career is because you have to stay up so much on what's happening. Like, I think machine learning, blockchain, I think those two things are going to dramatically change the way that apps work. And maybe, with blockchain, maybe society at large, how we function.
Okay, so what's blockchain? I don't know that term.
So it's distributed ledgers is essentially what it is. There was a really good podcast, I believe, on Planet Money that made the idea really clear to me, but it comes out of the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies, but it's just distributed information about what has changed so that no one person has the definitive record of it, that it's multiple people having the record so it can be confirmed. And if there's discrepancies, somebody can win. I don't know exactly how it works if the ledgers don't all match up, but there was a distribution of it's a distributed data as opposed to centralized data.
Exactly. Well, and they're talking about how this can change insurance, how it can change, currency. That one's the one where it's already having the impact, but just that collection of information. And there was a really interesting podcast, I believe, on Planet Money that talked about how these guys in prison essentially did physical, tangible
blocked or, distributed ledgers to keep up with things, to be able to pay for things. And it was the thing that really made it clear to me what blockchain could do, the different systems. But, staying up on those kind of systems that are coming down the pike and what we may have to be thinking about and learning to work with and getting to work with is really exciting to me. I think that the way that information moves around and the way that people try and get things done is I think we're in the kind of the peak of that kind of stuff being new, and I enjoy it.
So all three of us on the call today, I think this is a true statement that what we're doing now didn't exist when we started our careers. Yeah. So what advice would we give ourselves? Carri, what advice would you give your younger self about your future career, how to think about your future career in a way that would really empower you to take advantage of these changes and trends, which you've obviously done?
Yeah, well, fortunately, something that I've kind of had just as a daily life habit since a kid is just always trying to learn something new, not out of any sort of a specific agenda, but just out of curiosity, and it's just part of who I am. And so I think that's been a big part of it. For me, the advice I would have loved to have had 20 years ago was more about people and how important relationships are to your career, just because while the information and the activities you do may change, having a strong team of people that you know and want to work with and want to be around is going to be an essential, regardless of what industry, what career, whatever there is.
Have you? So when you say that, I mean, I completely agree about the importance of people. Are you thinking of it in the context of your ability to work with people, or the ability to create relationships that help you get your next job? It'll become networking bridges later in your career, or both.
I think all of it. Just building on those relationships and making sure that I stayed in touch better. And before there were all the systems that we have today, the LinkedIn, the Facebooks, when I was 20, those weren't pieces of the puzzle. Just caring about that. It wasn't something in my younger career that I cared about. I thought that I had the information and that I could work hard and that I could be better than other people at getting things done, and that mattered more. And it really doesn't. It kind of matters less, in some places.
Although there is value to being competent.
There is, but there's not. Yeah, there is. Believe me, I always want to do the best work I can, but that's not necessarily the most important thing to work environments and to being effective even.
Yeah, that's true.
Being better, but not fitting in, or being better, but being harder to work with is not as good as being good and being great at working with other people. And I didn't understand that in my 20s. I thought, hey, I do better work. That's more important.
I think I'm there with you.
Yeah, that kind of cocky attitude has definitely gone away.
Good.
For me.
So you've worked in big companies, little companies, startups, you've been on your own, you've run your own businesses. What's your favorite environment, and how have you found moving from into these different environments? How does it work best when it's working, when you're kind of going from opportunity to opportunity? What's flowing?
Yeah, so I think for me, the thing that place I've always wanted to be and always looked for has been a growing startup, because there's nothing more exciting than getting to have influence on what the product is, what it does, and be in that environment of success moving forward. There's nothing more enjoyable than that. And there's a couple ways to get there. Either start at the very beginning, so as the third employee at a company once it grew to about 20, and I think we were just too early with our product, and so that one didn't end up working out. But so that was really exciting, starting to get on that trajectory. But the best place that I want to be is where that is really starting to be successful, and that the day-to-day, are we going to run out of money question isn't like palpable. I mean, that the enthusiasm and the energy to work hard and still like you haven't made it yet is still there, but that the panic maybe that you can have when you're just like, oh my gosh, is any of this going to work, or is it all going to fall apart this week? Like stepping away from that and getting into the next, which is where I am right now. It's why that I left what I had been doing for the last couple of years. I wasn't looking for a position, but when I realized that this was a startup with a team that looked like it was amazing people, and that they were growing, they had a great reputation in town, I was like, okay, I want to go work for a company at that stage who's close to me, and I can do design for them. Are you kidding? Like, yes. I'm doing my own thing so that I can try and get to that with someone by choosing my clients wisely. Like, if that exists just down the street and I can get an offer to work there, oh my gosh, I'm on board. So that's, for me, that's really the most exciting place to be.
And you know what, you're bringing up something I think is really important, which is that we like to put things in boxes, like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to go be, don't have a boss, all this kind of stuff, or I want to work for a startup. And a lot of us, it's the experience. We were talking earlier about customer experience. It's like employee experience. What we're after is employee experience. And you get different experiences when you're at a big job versus when you're working for yourself, when you're working for a startup, et cetera. And the more clued in you are about what employee experience you want, the easier it is not to get stuck on, oh, I have to work for myself, or I have to work for a startup. It's like you'll know it when you see it.
Yes.
And you can tell people what you want. They can help you find it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, it's never been about trying to be my own boss or run my own company. Oh goodness, operations is something I want no part of ever. If I can do that, I mean, I'll put up with it to get to do the type of work I want to do or work with the people I want to. But I don't have any driving desire to be a CEO or to be called an entrepreneur. I just want to get to work on a product that's going somewhere and that people are going to use in a smaller environment. When you're working at a 1,200 person company, your influence at best is minimal. But when you're working in a 25 person company, your influence is, every day it matters. Your work that you do every day matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mary, what's your take on all this?
Well, I actually would like to get, I have a question that's been here looming in my head for a while. So Carri, can you give us your story?
Sure.
From the start, we had your bio, but let's hear your story.
Yeah. So I really got into tech probably because my dad was an IT person, and I went to school for film and studied mainly documentaries. I really enjoyed that. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do at all. Moved out to LA and ended up working on some HGTV documentaries, which was fine, but not at all interesting to me. In college, I had worked on political documentaries and things about big society and cared about those things. And I realized I would be an absolutely starving artist to try and work on those things. So that aspect seemed a little rough. And then this website called monster.com came out when I was working there. And I was like, oh, look, and there are a couple of tech jobs just down the street from me where I was living in Venice at the time, Venice, California. And I applied to a job, and I got hired as an admin assistant at a company that was a tech company, and I was their third employee and stayed there a couple of years and, never really looked back. I realized, okay, I like this stuff. This is interesting. It's not necessarily stable or super structured and all that kind of stuff, but I felt like I fit in a lot in the environment. And there were a lot of things I liked about it. And so I knew that was really where I wanted to try and stay. It was tough after the first .com bubble issues. I think I definitely struggled at that point to stay exactly moving forward, and took some other jobs took a research job at a Fortune 500 for-profit education company, But even there, I managed to be able to do things where I was working on product quite a bit, designing reports and doing those kind of things. Certainly the role UX designer didn't exist, but I was still creating internally from the research team. I was creating products for other teams in the company. So I don't know, from there I just kept working at different places and tried things on my own. I tried to create a podcasting product in 2006, so before the iPhone came out, when it was just on the little like scrolling iPhone or iPod. And that didn't work so well. It was like curated content. I spent a part of a year like locked up listening to thousands of podcasts on my own and like making all these, like categorizing all the information and then figuring out a system so people could sign up for new stuff based on when it was just like XML files and an RSS feed where they could have their name .rss. And anyway,
You're way early to market.
Yeah, I was obsessed with This American Life as a podcast, and then I found these other ones, and I was like, oh, some of them are fantastic, and some of them are so terrible. There was no system for curation back then, and anyway, but that didn't work out. But I just kept moving along, and I guess I've always studied in the evenings on my own and on the weekends a little bit, and tried to stay up with things, and somehow I'm here at this point, and I just do UI UX design every day, all the time.
So it strikes me, I love what you're saying about how curiosity kind of leads you forward. You would have been a great compliment to our guest we had last week, Lynn Borton, who has Choose to Be Curious podcast, and
cool.
It's all about curiosity in all walks of life, but it does seem to be a good theme in our work about how to manage your careers. Like, just be curious, be interested in things, and follow your interests and follow your curiosity. And it kind of and you're bringing up something that I've experienced too, which is that sometimes our curiosity leads us to a place where we do a lot of work without, quote, getting paid to learn, right? Or to explore or to experiment. And I used to go, oh, no, I'm not getting paid. This is a waste. I'm not going to do it. And then I began to realize, no, that's an investment in me and in helping me understand what I want to do and what maybe I'm good at.
If you calculated in the hours I've spent studying on my own, I probably made half minimum wage my whole life. Every day, some amount of time I spend studying something. It's just,
What's your favorite topic to study? Like, what's your key interests?
I feel like it jumps around. But behavioral economics is really a big one. I feel like if I got to go back to school and start right now, I would definitely study. Like, it's just so interesting how humans make weird. What we do is just so weird sometimes. Dan Ariely is definitely a favorite of mine. And then Richard Thaler as well, like his book Nudge and Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, those kind of things. It's just like I've listened to the audiobooks of those repetitively because it's just like I want that stuff to stick. I want to know that I just know it, that it's not like concepts that I can sort of recall. But it's just anything to do with like how people behave. Obviously day to day we deal with it and how they behave in reaction to computers and stuff like that. But like just decisions and the way they respond to words and different things, money and all that stuff. It's just interesting. I mean, how can you not enjoy learning stuff like that?
That's true.
So I have a question, which we've been exploring lately, which is, how do you know you've been doing something too long, or you've stayed at a job too long? Like,
I wish I had that problem. I hope to have that problem at the current place I am. I hope to be here for, a decade. I hope that this just takes off and that I stay here. But I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Why is that?
Because I've never gotten to be somewhere. Well, I've always gotten to a place where it's clearly not working, or that there's something that it's not right for me, and that it's easy to know to jump, that it's not, like sometimes the places have run out of money. That one's an easy one. Or sometimes it's just stayed and I know I'm falling behind in my skills the way I want to be pushed forward on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Real obvious things, or the work that I'm doing isn't being put into the product regularly because that's just not part of the way that that company works. Like it's just slow, or they're just not sure.
But it sounds to me like even when those to me sound like signs that you're picking up and reading that it's kind of time to move on. I think some people get stuck in those and they get mad and they're like, the company isn't putting my work to good use, and they blame the company. It doesn't sound like you're doing that. You're moving on.
The company gets to do whatever they want. I'm there to do the best work I can and try and make the product as good as I can and push for the product and push for the concept of user experience. Unfortunately, that's still part of a user experience designer's role, is to evangelize on the need. I think it's getting to be less, but today that it's still some part of it in some companies. But what the company does and what I do, I look at very differently. And for my work, I want to be staying up with the current trends. I want to be putting out good work that meets, that looks as good as the things that are happening today and works as good as the things that are happening today. And if I'm not getting the opportunities to do that, then that's not the company's fault. Like, they're not there for me. They're there to do whatever their business model is. And maybe what I care about fits in with that, but maybe it doesn't. And, if it doesn't, that's on me. And I need to hop if that's
so the case. I like that attitude, because you're taking responsibility, you're taking ownership for your career, for what it is that you want to achieve in your career or any particular job, and you're taking that ownership. It helps you see those signs and go, okay, this isn't a great fit anymore. Time for me to go find my next best thing. So that I'm getting the sense from you, other than maybe when the company runs out of money, that it's not, a lot of your career transitions haven't necessarily been traumatic. You've just seen the signs and go, okay, it's time for me to sort of move on to my next.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I'm minimizing how difficult that is sometimes. And certainly I've never necessarily thought about it as this way. Oh, the company doesn't fit in line with my goals, and so I need to go somewhere. I usually think about it like, oh, this isn't working. I gotta find the next thing. And it's usually a little disappointing because I go in optimistically that this is the right product for me at the right time, and the direction of the company is going to fit well with where I'm headed, with the things I want to do. But, I'm not somebody who gets too disappointed or who will stay for years and be sad or stay to the point of getting upset at somebody else because, like, either the product or the work doesn't fit my vision. Maybe other people don't actually have their own vision of what they do want to work on, and so it's harder to know when that doesn't fit. But
Well, and like I said, you're taking ownership of it, which doesn't mean you're not going to have disappointments and all that, but it's keeping you moving forward in what has, in a trajectory that has become a career into something that didn't exist when you first started, and I think if we're expecting the world never to change, it's going to change on us. So, but when you follow that curiosity, you look at the fit, you're disappointed, but you just keep moving forward. That's when you get this sense of fluidity, and now you've developed your career to a point where you have you fit into this job category that didn't fit before, and you've got all this experience that brings a maturity to that and a relevance to that kids just coming out of school can't possibly duplicate. So you've built value into yourself through that process.
Yeah, boy, I wish I had the mindset today, or when I was 20, that I have today. My whole career would have been different.
How?
I just thought, I'm going to go out there and work hard, and people are going to love everything I do. And that's not.
Well, at least it was optimistic.
Yeah.
That's why we tell our stories, right? So that some of those people can learn from some of our mistakes.
Yeah, works hard, and Yeah, and mistakes are part of work. I mean, that's even when you're actually putting in a ton of effort and trying to do things well and trying to do things right, mistakes are still part of it. And that's, that's normal. Those are the things that should just be okay, no big deal, move on. But yeah, everybody has things that they've messed up, or gosh, they thought this project was going to work out this way. And like, it's not. And, yeah, those aren't fun, but those are part of it as well.
But it's learning, right? It's like the learning lesson that you're getting from the experience.
Yeah.
That makes it, I think it's almost like looking at it, you have the experience, and good or like, it doesn't matter how it comes out. It's like, what'd you get out of it? Right? Even like if it's successful, what'd you learn from it? If it doesn't go successful, what'd you learn from it? Because I've found like, I had like this interesting conversation with someone, and I started realizing, like, when people talk about success, right? They're like, I succeeded, right? It's never really a group. It's always funny. But when we all failed, but I succeeded. And I started noticing this trend of like, when you talk to people, that's what seems to happen. And it's like, when there's success, there's always multiple people, right? But then when there's failure, there's multiple people too. Not just one person screwed up when there's a problem project or a problem product or a problem company, right? Like, it could be the investors had no confidence, and the investors had no confidence because the CEO didn't give them any confidence. And maybe the CEO didn't have any confidence because he doesn't do a good job hiring the team or working with other people to hire the team. It didn't make good picks, or the picks were like, dude, I don't like you. Like, who knows, right? Like, it's so
yeah,
complicated. But what did you get out of it, right? What did you get out of that experience before you moved on? And I think that's success.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you bring up something really important, is that who your direct manager is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, it is such a big part of your work life that I don't think, especially for young people, that the emphasis is appropriate for how much of an impact that has on your daily work life. That, in interviews, if you have cautions about that person, maybe keep interviewing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because, and try and find other people that know them, that and talk to them about that, because it's not really even just about, the work and the place. It's, or even the other people. It's that person who you are reporting to, and, how are you guys, how are they going to look at you and how you work? Is that going to be a fit? It's like when I worked at, there was a company, Laureate Education, I worked there, and I had 2 incredible bosses for a while. And then they moved them to other teams, and I was then stuck with a boss who was terrible. And I had to leave because I tried to get to move to other teams with them, and just the work they were doing on the other teams wasn't going to be a fit with me. And it was very regulatory and reports, and I wanted to be doing something different that was more on the team I was already on. I couldn't work with this new manager. She wanted to talk on the phone to her friends all day about The Bachelorette loudly, and it was hard to respect that from my perspective. I mean, and unfortunately that had nothing to do with me, but like, I gotta leave if that's going to be the case, because I was there to try and do good work, and she wasn't. And that happens,
It does. And
the opposite of that, it's fantastic. Like, where I am right now, I'm so happy.
And I think, and that's a good note to close on, because to expand the point you're making, that the person you work for is critical. The values of the company and the way they live them through the culture can be critical, although a good work manager can insulate you from some of that. But I think the overarching point, which is just kind of coming to me, is like, success is not a permanent state. We talk about the importance of failure, right, and the importance of mistakes. But there's this fiction, at least I carry it, I think many people do, because of, I don't know, what media shows us, is that some people achieve success and it's just their every day is success. Every moment is success, right? And so if we're not in that permanent success state, we fail, we're miserable, we need to buy this next pill, we need to do this next thing, and success is just, it's events or experiences in our life that tells us what we want to do, what we enjoy doing, what we like doing. If we work for a good boss for a while, that's success. It tells you what a good boss looks like. So when you have a bad boss, you know, I don't need to be here. I don't want to be here. And so you get out of it sooner, right? It's like, we got to get out of this mindset. I've got to get out of this mindset. You know, they're like, success is some kind of permanent state that's possible, because it just isn't. You know,
Right.
we just have to knit together the best we can and keep going for what is more successful than less.
Absolutely,
in our
yeah.
careers and in our work environments and everything.
Yeah. Find that thing that feels really good to you and you know, looks good and feels good. And so, I don't know, man, don't leave it. If you find that, don't leave it. I did that in my first job. I had the best boss ever. One of my very first jobs was working at a talent agency in LA. And I had no idea how amazing the company and the people were, because I didn't have perspective. It was my first place. And I would have stayed for years, but I stayed for 8 months because I didn't know any better.
Well, lessons to live by. So thank you, Carri, for your life lessons and your positive attitude and your good role model for being in the fluid career and moving towards that next job that doesn't exist yet, but it will when you get there. Thank you, Mary, for bringing Carri to us and being your sparkling self as always on the phone or on the call. And thanks all of you for coming to this InPower Coffee Break. Please visit us at coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com to read up or to see past recordings, to learn how to join us live in the future and see what's coming up in the coming weeks. So thank you all. Have an empowered day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.